So, good afternoon to everyone. You are welcome to this OBF Academy webinar. And today we have the pleasure to have Emilie, Lenel, and Isabelle Duchatelle from the University of Caen Normandie. So Emilie is an instructional designer, and Isabelle is a vice president of the university. And we will have a nice presentation about la Bagerie Normande. And I let Emilie and Isabelle to tell you more about what's la Bagerie Normande. So you are welcome.
Okay. So hello everyone, good afternoon. So we are pleased to share with you today our experience with Open Badges, our project that we call the Normand Bagerie. And during this webinar, we will explain how we are using Open Badges for distance learning gamification and also for soft skills recognition. So I will start the presentation and then Isabelle will switch on soft skills.
Yes. Hello everyone.
So just a few words about our university. So we are located in Normandy, France, and we have about 29,000 students today. So we are, of course, mainly located in Caen, but we have also 5 more campuses in Normandy. The University of Caen is supported by the CEMU, the Centre d'Enseignement Multimédia Universitaire, and this specific department supports the transformation of teaching practices in university, and also brings and supports innovation in learning. We are managing some distance learning programs. We have today about 40 programs, and the same is a 30 people team, mainly instructional designers, but also video makers, graphic designers, 3D developers, and platform admins. We have today 5 platforms. We have 4 Moodle LMS and 1 platform specific for ePortfolio, Mara. This screenshot is coming from Open Badge Passport with a new feature with the badge map. So you can see we are here in Normandy and we have a lot of points in Caen, Rouen, because of Badgeons la Normandie. You may have heard about this community. So we are quite active in Open Badges. We have been active for the last 4 years. So why Open Badges at our university? So we started actually 3 years ago, but for the first experimentation year, we had 2 different projects for 2 different audiences. The first project focused on lifelong learning students to prevent dropout in distance learning. We made our experience with a special master's degree, the social and health management degree. And the second experience we had in parallel is more focused on the initial education and work-link training students on the bank and finance and insurance domain to recognize soft skills that are not assessed in the diploma. So for the first pilot to prevent dropout, actually, but it's not a surprise, learners dropout occurs quite often in distance learning compared to face-to-face learning. So dropout could be voluntary or involuntary. Sometimes learners just want to access resources online or just curious to discover new methods. But mainly involuntary because learners can have a feeling of isolation, or it could be related to life situation or simply lack of time. So as a consequence, the rate of graduation is often higher in face-to-face learning. That's why persistence is key, is very important in distance learning. And it's very important to offer collaborative, cooperative activities to make them active and to promote learning communities through forums, and tutoring is key as well. That's why we tried to implement open badges to gamify our courses and then to make learners involved at the early beginning of the course, and then keep them motivated and actively involved through activities. So as I said, we tested open badges through a specific master's degree. We had 110 lifelong learners worldwide located. And in this degree, we have a teaching unit called Management and Communication. And this unit is made of 2 modules with many collaborative works. And so we implemented badges with multiple levels to make them participate through the course. We had three main points. We wanted to make the learner a player in his own learning. That's the badge we call acteur de son apprentissage. We wanted to encourage learners' motivation to work together and to boost discussions and team spirit within groups, as the main objective is to prevent dropout. So we awarded 2 badges from January to May on this unit. The first one, acteur de mon apprentissage, the first level is awarded once the learner starts the module. The second, when the student starts to interact with his peers, and then when the learner submit personal work production. And then we wanted to reduce dropout and to identify ghosts in collaborative activities. And the second one, esprit d'équipe, team spirit, to encourage the student collaboration. The first level is awarded through forum contributions, and the second one through peers assessment. We managed all these badges through Moodle, or learning management system, and this badge, Acteur de mon apprentissage, is automatically awarded based on the activities achievement in Moodle. So the first one, once the student view resources and is reading instructions, working instructions. The second one, the learner must at least post 2 messages or replies through the group forum. And the last one is based on once you publish is individual assignment. For the second open badge, esprit d'équipe, team spirit, the first level is manually awarded. It's actually based on the post assessment. The learner needs to publish posts and to have his posts recommended or liked by his peers, and so he needs at least 2 likes. For the second level, it's based on the peers assessment. He needs to be, the badge is awarded once his grade is higher or equal to 65%. And to gamify our courses, our distance learning courses, we started 2 years ago to implement a challenge that we call Starting Block Challenge. Actually, in our opinion, the key elements to start a distant learning program is first to be aware and to understand the program organization. I mean, the rules, who are my key contacts, what are the assessment conditions. The second point is to communicate with his tutor and his peers. Actually, they may never meet their peers, but if they can contribute and work with peers, they are more likely to complete successfully. And of course, to be motivated. So we deployed this open badge on all our distance learning program on a specific general information course. So it's also based on the activities achievements. So he needs to read the study handbook first, to answer a quiz with at least 60% success, and to introduce himself or herself to the learning community through the forums. What is our feedback on this experience? So here are some key figures for the last 2 years. We had about 200 learners concerned, and 30% of learners received the badge. From a pedagogical point of view, of course, it has to be activated in the early beginning of the program, and it could be a condition to open the other modules. We did not decide to block students, but it can be a condition. And we can see those open badges like learning milestones. We have not yet some evidence of efficiency of this process. Actually, we are planning to analyze in the coming weeks data and feedbacks from students to have some evidence. And regarding the 2 other badges, we noticed that students were fully engaged in the process. We could see a decrease of what we call ghosts in collaborative activities, because ghosts were visible to peers. And we had a high increase of exchanges and discussions on forum activities. From a technical point of view, we could not automate all badges simply because we are delivering badges through Moodles, and all our activities achievement are not available. So sometimes you have to find some workaround. So I'm sharing, but you will have the presentation, a link to a student's interview with their feedbacks on this experimentation, but it's in French. So that's it for the first pilot, and so I think so. We will answer all questions after webinar. So Isabelle, you can continue with.
Okay. Okay, so the second pilot had a larger, was in a larger project where we try to transform the pedagogy of and the pedagogical practice of our teachers here at the university. And we wanted to start to recognize skills because competencies, because that's something that is really not in our culture here in France, or at least not very much at the university level. The evaluation of skills and competencies is something that our teachers most of the time do not know how to do. They believe they do not know how to do, and they are very reluctant to change their pedagogy, their evaluation process. So we started this project with a go from our consoles that rule all the university life, and in particular the console that rules the formations and diploma life in the university. So we started, of course, with skills, evaluating skills and competencies that were not in the diploma, that were not required for the diploma, because it was too complicated 4 years ago to have a go from our consoles to start this project. So we started it by evaluating and following soft skills of the students. And the team who started this project with us is a team of teachers who work in the bank and insurance field. And they started it out because they were extremely frustrated that some very average students, they could predict they would have a very nice career in the bank field, although their academic results were not that very good. And on the other hand, some students who had very good grades, they knew they were not really fitted to the bank and the career that their diploma was fundamentally allowing them to have. And they wanted to recognize the students whose grades were not aligned with the future. Their experience were allowing them to see they would have. The second argument, the second piece of this experiment was also to start evaluating skills and competencies that are useful for employers, and that are not described in the diploma. And last year we were at a seminar with Serge with the Recognized Association, and someone told me something that is extremely true. Some fields right now, especially in the computer fields, for example, do not hire people based on their diploma. They hire people based on the practical the projects that they have done, and not necessarily on the diploma, even though the salary is the same as someone who has a master's degree, for example. Even though the person doesn't have a master's degree, but if he's shown that he's been able to follow up projects and complete projects, this is what they are now looking for. And this is not described in our diploma. So this whole project started because we wanted a way to recognize and quantify and back up all this work that we were hoping students would be doing. So maybe I did go ahead and did not look at the slides very much. I'm on the red one. the diploma. So all the competencies are not, and all the skills are not described in our diploma, and most of them are in the soft skill area. So this experiment in the finance and bank department of our university did involve about 250 students and the whole team of people working and teaching in that field. So in the bank and the insurance fields, what are the employers looking for? Mostly problem solving, communication, perseverance, self-esteem, creativity, curiosity, teamwork, and all these skills we wanted to be able to have a way to recognize them so that the students could go to looking for jobs and show what they had actually been doing in these fields. So if you want to go to the next slide. So the first iteration was about 3 years ago. We had several different badges that we designed. So there was a whole project group with the engineers from CEMU, including Emilie, with the teachers, with students. I was part of the group, and we really brainstormed about what kind of skills were going to be important for the students once they leave us. So some of the skills were what we called capacity. That means they are able to do something, communicate, explore, be a leader, be creative, be able to adjust and be agile, etc., etc. Some other badges were in the participation field. They can communicate. They are ambassadors, so that means that they go outside of the university to represent our university, their department, their diploma. The solidarity is the team competencies, team skills, more like a good partner, etc. And the baton is the students who really fights for staying in the higher education field, for example. Some of them have to work long hours outside of the university to be able to continue to go to the university. And this is a very difficult life for some students, but some of them and most of them do manage both of their lives. So we wanted to be able to recognize that someone was working part-time or full-time and being a student full-time. So that's the baton badge, etc. The next iteration, the year after that, was some sort of an explosion of our badges, because our team was very enthusiastic and said, okay, well, but we need to recognize this and recognize that. So there were many new badges that were created that year. And if you go to the next slide, so the next iteration, we finally went back to a smaller number of badges. Some of them were meta badges. Most of them, or some of them, we included the OCDE referential for soft skills. We included life skills in the badges. And this is something that is right now stabilized around that perimeter of the badges that we deliver. The other part of this project, we had the communication department of our university design the visual of the badges. On the two precedent iterations, CEMU and Emilie had designed the badges based on their best knowledge and etc. But we wanted that the university welcomes this project as one of their projects, one of the larger projects of the university, and not only a project of some very innovative department and teachers who are experimenting in their own little spot. So we had the communication department design the badge according to the design of the visual design of the university. So now, these badges right now, in the last iteration, are attributed based on 3 different ways or 3 different paths. The first one, the first kind of attribution, the students can ask for themselves. They have a list of the badge. The teachers do inform them about the different potential badges they can have, and they apply. They say, okay, yes, I qualify to have this badge because I have done this and that. So there is a proof they have to complete and give to the teachers. The second way of getting badges, soft skills badges, is other students do recommend that this one student has a badge because they recognize that this student in particular will be able to have this particular badge. For example, the one who always saves the whole promotion last day before a final exam because he debugs different things. And the last series is under the teacher who follow the badge, who follow the students, during their practical experiences, who decide that these students should have this particular badge because he has shown this or that competency. These badges are definitely awarded to students during the final exam of the diploma, and with the jury of the diploma who decides whether the badges will be given to the students.
We have also the CFA, who is making the link between the university and the companies. Yeah.
Yes, where the students have their practical experiences, and they can recommend also the awarding of the badges. So everything is within a special course in the Moodle LMS platform, where the open badges lay, and where all the administrative part of it are centralized. And if you go to the next slide, there is also another video about how the students' feedbacks on how they do use and receive and use the badges, and how this can boost their career employment. And one famous example we have is that one student who was working during the night and being a student during the day, and did barely pass the exam at the end of the first year. And in the jury decided to award him the baton badge, the one who fights to get to complete his exams and pass his exams. And in the jury was someone from a bank who was here because he had been a teacher during the year. And this bank decided to give a grant for this particular student so that he would not have to work during the night on the second master year, so that he could complete all his program without working for the second year. So there are very, very precise benefits that the students, immediate benefits that the students can have when we do award them badges.
An unexpected benefit.
Yes, unexpected benefits, but it's expected at the same time, because now employers not only look at diplomas, but also look at all the other competencies a student can have experimented during his formation, and we need to give the students a way to have a way to formalize this process and this recognition. The next step now is to try to infuse the open badge culture in our disciplinary competencies and skills. So for the last 2 years, we did award about 200 or 265 soft skills and life skills badges, about 1,200 gamification badges, about 630 participation badges, and we did have 90 submitted badge applications, some different badge applications. Only 61 of them were approved. It's not because a student applies for a badge that is necessarily going to have it right away. And once the badge is approved, the student has to accept it. And we have about a 35% acceptance rate of the badges. So maybe we should work on that, so that once we award the badge, more students accept it.
But the first year we made it without a badge application, and it was a lower rate. Huh?
Yes.
So we improved. And we also award badges for all the events we organize, all the conferences events, for all the participants, all the speakers. So we
do badge our teachers too, and so that they get interested into badges, and that in order for them to think, oh, okay, maybe I should have open badges within my own formation, my own classes. Emilie, do you follow up or do I follow up?
You can start at university level. And
okay. So as I was saying, it was a university who made it, the open badge within our diplomas. We made it a university project. It's within our strategy now for the next years. The team was fundamentally a multidisciplinary team with teachers, engineers, etc., and students. And the students were participants of this project, of the creation project, and do evaluate the project every year. And most of the evolutions we had over the last 3 years were one from the students themselves, who did give us feedbacks and evaluations about our project. And the second was the evolutions that were asked from the teachers who experimented and said, okay, this is not, we should do this, we should do that. So we do belong to several communities within the open recognition, the larger open recognition projects, both at the Normandy level with Badgeons la Normandie, and maybe Emilie is going to expand on that, but also with a national and international association Reconnaître. We attend the seminars and we are part of this association. Maybe the second slide.
And we also involve professionals.
Yes.
Because we submit assessment surveys also to our professionals in a bank field. So be sure that all the badges we are developing meets their expectation, huh, and what they are looking for. So we also involve professionals locally.
Yes.
So, and as a keys of success as well. So the first year we worked directly on Moodle without Open Badge Factory, and we could see the limits because you have to separate. Moodle is a LMS, and we had some issues because we changed our platform through HTTPS security, and we changed the domain name, and then all the evidences and all the links were lost. Sorry, can you still see my screen?
Yes, yes, but you exit, yes.
So we lost all the links, all the evidences. So that's why we decided to go through OBF license because they provide the Moodle plugin as well. So it was key to continue, and for the process, we highly encourage to co-create with the students, because if you don't create with students or with recipients, you're not sure the badge will have value to them. And we also prefer now badge applications, because we could notice that recipients' acceptation is much higher. Okay, so we are using OBF badge applications, and then students can submit evidences directly in the application. We have also made some posters with QR codes to go directly to the badge applications. So we deployed some posters, and communication is key as well, because we realized that open badges is unknown to people and to students. So we have to communicate on what is an open badge, what is the value, how to apply, and how can I valorize it outside. So that's why it's important to work closely with other institutions, because we had some reflection through Duchatelle Normandie, and we worked closely with Le Dôme, with La DRAF and Casus Belli to imagine some visuals. And those visuals are used in Normandy. So on what is an open badge, how to get my open badge, and what can I do after that. Okay, so we made some visuals, we made a lot of video tutorials as well, and those tutorials were published on the dedicated course in Moodle. So communication is very important. And now what's next, Isabelle?
Yeah, some other university projects do benefit from this open badge project. For example, these are just examples. Students' engagement. In France, student engagement can be recognized within the diploma. So either via a CTS or bonus points or etc. Different ways to recognize that a student had an engagement during his or her diploma. The jury of the diploma awards the engagement based on feedback with the student and written project, a written paper, for example. And we do give award badges based on the validation of the jury. We have a specific engagement badge that we will be live for the first year this year, if everything goes well. And so that the students who do not have ECTS or bonus points or things like that in his or her diploma, they will at least have the open badge. Also, when a student goes abroad for part of his or her diploma, or or goes abroad for other reasons. We could also have a badge for the international mobility. So we wanted to boost also that project, because in Caen we have a lower rate of students going abroad for part of their studies, and we wanted to have a way to communicate around that project, and having an open badge was something that we thought was interesting. And also we have a department who manages all the all the students who go to study abroad, and all the students who come, the foreign students who come to study within our university. And the bank diplomas had a mobility badge that we decided to transfer to the mobility department, to international affairs department. So this department now awards the mobility badge. So the other big project is to have open badges for disciplinary skills and disciplinary competencies, because that's a real deep transformation for our university. Because when we were talking about soft skills, okay, everyone was, well, okay, you can do what you want. It's not going to impact really our diplomas. Same thing for the engagement or the mobility. It's not always within the diploma, but we are going to go deep now in the diploma and the competencies, the disciplinary competencies and skills. And that's another quite big step for us. One other project is to have micro-certifications. There are European projects about micro-certifications. There are national projects. And what we want is to have a way for lifelong learners to be able to come to us and grab some competencies, some skills, and have us recognize part of the diplomas from their past experience or their work experience, and use this micro-certification that we can give them to have a diploma that we can award them based on not only what they have done with us at the university, but what they have, all the skills they have from their past lives and their work life. And I'd like to finish on one of Pierre Beust's images that he's very famous for finding very good images and wording for micro-certifications for macro capitalizations. The way we can recognize skills and micro skills for people who will aggregate all these different certifications to finally have a diploma that they would not have otherwise.
Oh, we still have this one. The key, it's the last bullet. Key vigilance points. Be agile. That's what we did, because we started with a very small scale experimentation, and we developed progressively in a PDCA model to adjust. And you also have to think about HR in the project, because you need some people to design, to develop, and also people to support, to answer questions. So it's an important point. And but we mentioned it already. The teaching team is implication is very key. So you need some motivated teaching team to deploy it. And we had the last concern, maybe, how to deploy it to large cohorts. but we may be able to manage it thanks to peer assessments. But we don't have enough peers today, badge earners, but once we'll get enough badge earners, we can rely on peers. And I think that's it. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very good, great presentation. Do we have any questions first? Have a look on the chat, if there is something on the chat.
Are you going to receive a certificate for attendance? I don't know.
I can do something for you as a presenter.
For you.
Okay. Presenter for this webinar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why not? And then participants too, but I've been a bit late. If you want the participant badge, it will be in the passport. I think at the beginning of next week. So there will be a badge application, and you can apply for this Badge Normandie seminar participant badge. And but for you, Emilie and Isabelle, I could do some presenter badge.
That would be very nice.
That would be nice, yeah.
Yeah, because I usually use a lot my own passport to show to people, because it's something that doesn't speak to them very much, most of our colleagues, and so that they can see what potentially they can do with the open badges.
Yeah, it would be good to join your to attach your presentation in the badge as a.
I think one big step would be the ability to use the badges on social networks, mainly professional social networks, like LinkedIn, for example. It should be easy for an open badge to be collected within LinkedIn. So I tried a year ago, something like that, to import my badges from Open Badge Factory to LinkedIn, and it was not that easy. Yeah. And I think the process should be made much easier so that people actually use them.
Yeah, I think it's this LinkedIn problem. It's the problem that LinkedIn is not really willing to basically make it easy to use badges, because they wanted to have their own badges first, and we have been really pushing them, not only us, all our competitors too, to get easier way to push the badges. It's really slow, but I think in the future we'll try to get a better solution. But I mean, it's the same for Credly or for Acclaim or all the competitors. It's too difficult to place a badge in LinkedIn. Yeah. But about your presentation, there is some questions.
Yes, so, there is one question from Simon.
Yes, Simon, do you want to ask your question? I mean, you can use your microphone if you want.
Yeah, I couldn't speak earlier, so I never connected, but I can speak if you. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was curious as to how the juries went, because we identified that as being an interesting way to make sure that we're giving badges to the right people, in a sense. I'm sorry, I'm from University of Grenoble, so we definitely have some of the same interest points, I think, with your approach. And so I wanted to know if during these jury sessions, did it make these jury sessions much longer? Were they specific jury sessions for open badges, or did they happen at the same time as the rest of the degree jury?
No, it happened at the same time.
It's twice a year. A year. It's half a day, huh? Yeah.
But our juries usually are quite long anyway.
Yeah, I understand.
No, it was awarded during the jury. So we have, the year is divided into 2 semesters. And so we have basically one jury around January, something like that, for the first semester. A second one around...
End of May.
end of May for the second semester, and the global jury for the year in May. And the second sessions for students happen during May and June, and the last jury is in early July for the definitive diploma. So the badges were awarded during the regular juries.
Yeah.
But the whole teaching team is there, or should be there. Sometimes it's about 20 people, you see.
Yeah, they are all supposed to be there, but
yeah.
And they were. I attended one jury last year, and they were actually surprised sometimes by a recommendation or badge application, because they discovered, they realize sometimes they don't know students.
Exactly, and a regular jury takes each and every one students and reads out each and every one grade, and each teacher for each class has to verify the grade. So it's very long. It's a long process anyway. So checking for badges is not that much longer. It's just part of the process. And
so there were no strong disagreements, is I think maybe where what my real question was. Is no. Okay.
The team was voluntary from the start.
Right.
And,
of course.
the fact that the teaching team was okay from the start means that they had accepted the whole process.
Yes.
Our diploma are national diploma, except when we do have some local diplomas. But most of our students are within national diplomas. So the juries have a very tedious and important work to do. That means to verify each and every one grade of each and every one student. So within these diplomas, there were at maximum of 100 students per class. In my own field, sometimes we can have 500, 600 students. So juries maybe take a day long.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also have some soft skill badges that are awarded without jury.
Yes.
For distance learning courses. It's awarded directly by the teaching manager.
Participation badges, for example.
Yeah, but even some soft skills badges are awarded directly.
And we're thinking about open badges specifically for soft skills, and the biggest it's a big debate currently, because we're not sure how to measure soft skills, and that's always a very delicate question.
Yeah.
So I saw that you guys have certain levels that correspond to different things. Did you how did that conversation happen within the university?
Well, we did create a matrix. We did adjust it from year to year. So we did basically by trial and error.
Right. Okay.
And see if it did correspond to what the teachers had seen in the past. So that was a way to formalize something that the teachers were seeing, but they had no way to measure it and no way to recognize it.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that, as I've said before, open badges are really a tool for transformation, for development. So my question: how much have been you have been learning with open badges? What kind of things you have been learning in the process of using badges?
Personally,
the university, or in different let's say sectors.
I think that the university, if we put the process aside, because process is a process and it could be anything, I think the university has gained some kind of I'm not sure how to say that, but the recognition process. In that field, we have evolved a bit, a small bit, but a bit, because before we did set up this whole project, recognition was only awarded based on grades, on achievements, and not on, for example, when we could never have an engagement recognition if we did not have the Open Badge project going on. We would never have an engagement way to recognize the student engagement outside of their diploma, within their diploma. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a tool to discuss about recognition. And to me, recognition about skills is not only whenever you write a paper and when the paper gets graded. And I think the university in France is very much around these notions. You have to write a paper, you have to write a dissertation, you have to take an exam and make all the calculus and or all the sketches that you are expected to make. The teacher grades you, and this is how you are evaluated and recognized. And to me, the Open Badge is a very powerful tool to address these questions. We have other tools. We have a whole project to change the pedagogy, the methods in pedagogy and the recognition. We are at the very first early steps, I know, right now, but it's a way to go on that path for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I think it's very impressive from the fact that you have a badge strategy at university level, which is, I would say that you cannot see that in every university. I think in many university or schools, you are first teacher trying badges with some small group of students and trying to, I would say, to spread the word in the organization. Later, the university is coming. But in your case, I like very much the fact that you have, I would say, a different approach. So you have been using, for example, you have peer assessment. You have been working with students on I would say, recommendation, or I would say endorsement for this different kind of badges on online learning and so on. You have also, what is interesting, a combination of this openness, and at the same time you have the jury, which is basically giving some, I would say, recognition, more, I would say, official recognition.
Formal recognition, yes.
And perhaps bringing some, I would not say value, but I mean, that a badge is not something that you get in 1 minute, that you have perhaps to work for it, and it's something valuable. So it's an interesting approach. And I think which is interesting that you have also a good strategy, a plan, you know, how, yes. What are the next steps. So it's something strong, and I think you have been doing a great work about communication. I've been following what you have been doing now for several years, and it's very impressive, all what have been done about communication. And I think it's a basic thing that without good communication, without to engage learners, students, and teachers, you can't success with badges. I think it's really great.
I think we had the dream team, teachers who were very, very open to experiment and who wanted to push the boundaries. Emilie, who did catch the ideas in the air and formalize them. And from my own part, the strategy and how to push that within our consoles and have the whole process validated by the university and being present in the strategy of and the political strategy of the university. So I think it's a team project, and we could have an open badge for that.
Good. And one other question before I perhaps Serge ask questions. So, but one other question was how easy it has been to get employers involved in the process. It's a question that we hear often. employers are not in and so on.
We had employers, regional employers, because our teachers are working very closely because it's professional diplomas. So they are working very closely with employers. So that's why, because it's a professional course, they have a link with the banks and the insurance companies. So that's why it was possible. For general diplomas, it might be more difficult.
Yeah, the hard part is ahead of us.
Okay, so you have so good connections in a very, I would say, professional area already, so that you have, I would say, a natural connection between employers and the teachers and the students and the university.
And as always, it's a human adventure.
Yeah, but I think it's a good strategic approach also. Also, many schools are very anxious with the fact that can we get badges recognized by employers? What employers are thinking about badges and so on. I think that the most important should be to find the good connections in small contexts where these connections are working well, and build this strategy as you did with this very, I would say, clear connections. Because I would say general connection between the world of employment and the university, it can be quite abstract, quite difficult to get any employer around the university involved. But in this kind of particular professional context, it's good to get this strong connection. So I think Serge has a question. Do you want Serge to ask your question yourself, or?
Well, it's written. So basically, yes, there is this feature in Open Badge Factory which allows people to create badges that are then reviewed by the community. And have you considered using this feature? If no, why not? And if yes, when?
That's a feature where we may consider using in the future, because if we deploy for large population of students, it might be difficult to assess by a jury or by teachers. So we will rely on badge earners, so peers assessment. So yeah, we that's a feature we might consider, of course.
Right. I think this new endorsement features in the passport, which is individual endorsement, could be also interesting in your baton badges and the badges where you had these recommendations. So basically, the badge could be issued and after that endorsed by peers. So it's interesting. I think it will support in your strategy.
Yeah.
Any questions? Further questions? No. I hope we didn't miss anything on the chat.
No, I checked.
I think it's okay. I think we had all the questions.
Okay, very good. So, thank you very much, Emilie and Isabelle.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you to all the participants. And this recording will be available, I would say, in two maximum 3 days in Open Badge Factory site on the what we call OBF Academy. And I will publish some small advertisements about our next webinar. So the 10th and the 11th of June, I will organize this kind of brainstorming seminar about development on Open Badge Passport and Open Badge Factory. So for the English-speaking community and French-speaking community, the French-speaking community will be on the 11th of June. I think it will be at 3 o'clock Finnish time. And the idea is to look together what should be the next step. You know, like geolocalization or what kind of things you are expecting in our development. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.